In 1968, we'd recorded Electric Lady Land album at the record plant in New York. And the album was very successful. You know, come 1969, Jimmy is top of his game, very powerful force in the record industry. The Woodstock Festival was being planned, and I guess the guys who were in charge of the festival figured, oh, let's get Jimi Hendrix to headline this festival. Once the film idea was put together, the film guys figured, okay, well, if you're going to get Jimi Hendrix to headline, let's just get his engineer to come up and record everything. And I got the phone call, and the next thing I know, I'm in somebody's car at 5 a.m. in the morning, arriving on the site, looking at what was going to be the Woodstock Festival. I had no clue. All I knew was I was going up to record Jimi Hendrix and a few other artists. No idea how big it was going to be. But when I arrived there on that Friday morning at, I think, 5 o'clock in the morning, and the sun was just coming up, about 5:30 the sun was coming up. We couldn't get from where we parked the car to the site. We had to walk a mile from where we parked the car to the site. There were scores of people, hundreds of people, and then thousands of people. The cars were piled up on the sides of these country roads. It was people as far as the eye could see, and it was, I couldn't believe it. I was looking at this and saying, this is going to be bizarre, to say the least. And as I came down the road, I saw this little hill with a little, I could just see in the distance, a structure that was going, and a crane. And it looked like part of a stage was being built. And I said, that's odd. We're going to start recording in about 5 hours. This thing is not even ready yet. The stage is not even being built, or hasn't been finished. And I thought, well, this is going to be fun. And I'm thinking to myself, what kind of craziness am I into? And as I got closer to the site, I saw it looked like an army of people running around with very little purpose other than bumping into each other and trying to get stuff done. But it all kind of worked out, I guess. The scary thing was, as the day progressed, more and more people came, and of course they broke through the fences, and that's already been documented. But when you're behind the stage in a tractor trailer with your recording equipment and you don't know what's going on outside, and you suddenly make an appearance back on stage 4 hours later, and you see this vast sea of people. There must have been 300,000 people there. And I remember going out onto the side of the stage and climbing up onto it and standing next to Bill Graham. And he said to me, Kramer, see all those people out there? If they write, you know that we're dead. I said, thanks, Bill. I'm going back to the truck. I'll never forget that. It was pretty scary because it had just grown from this. It was this being that just erupted. You just were. It was wall-to-wall people. We got the equipment from various sources. An 8-track machine that was from under the stage at the Fillmore East. Another 8-track machine had to be borrowed or begged or stolen. And they arrived before I had gotten there, and the engineers were trying to set that up. And one of the machines was in an orange crate, sort of rigged together with baling wire and chewing gum. And the other machine was kind of sort of propped up in a corner. We had a little 12-track console that there was not enough channels, and we stacked up 3 little Shure mixers, one on top of the other, with gaffer tape. And that was all we had, and like 2 speakers. And on stage, there was an interesting arrangement. The powers that be had decided to design a circular platform with 2 halves. The first half would have the first band on, and the back half would have the band that was going to appear next. And there were wheels underneath this platform. And the idea was to turn this platform around so that when the first band finishes, you have the second band ready to go. Of course, when they managed to turn it after the first band, all the wheels fell off, and the thing collapsed, and it just sat there for the whole show. So it was a little primitive, to say the least. I mean, we were in a tractor trailer behind the stage, and the communications with the stage ceased to exist after the first hour or so. So everything was done by waving and hand and yelling and sort of tom-tom messages or whatever. Chip Monk was the maitre d', the master of ceremonies, the guy whose calm demeanor on the exterior, when he got on stage and he would talk in his beautiful low baritone voice to the audience, he would calm everything down and make sure that there was some sort of system going on. And he managed to actually keep it going pretty well. Thank goodness for his efforts. Michael Lang and Artie Kornfeld seemed to be running around like chickens without heads. They had so many issues that they had to deal with: artists, the number of people who were there, the security. I'm sure that they were pulling their hair out. So to have somebody like Chip Monk up front, that was a godsend for them. My earliest recollection of the chaos to come was when I was walking around the perimeter of the event, trying to get a sense of the enormity of it and what it was going to sound like out in the audience, because I had to capture this on tape somehow. And I remember going down to the sound booth, which was out in the audience, which was the PA center, nerve center. I walked down to this little tin hut, basically, that Hanley Sound was operating out of, and this was the PA's nerve central. And I went in the door there, and all I could see was Hanley was inside the console, was propped up on a wooden stick. There was smoke pouring out of this thing, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we're going to start in about 10 minutes. How's he going to do this? But basically, he was soldering some wires, and some smoke was pouring out of it. But it was literally hung together with chewing gum and string. To this day, I don't know how the hell they did it, but it was amazing. The first act was Richie Havens, and thank God it was Richie, because he had a tremendous amount of energy, and it was just a single voice, single guitar. At least we could figure out, okay, we know this basically is going to work. And there was fantastic reaction from the crowd, and we knew we were going to be able to make it after that one. By the time midnight rolls around, you're thinking, oh, are we going to finish? No, we got another 2 more acts, and we finish at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, and it would be up again for an 11 o'clock start. It was very tough. I've never seen an event where all the artists were so friendly and so giving of themselves to the event, because everybody felt that we were creating something very unique, and everybody realized, I mean, once we were into the first day, that this was a very unique experience. There was a village atmosphere, and we were a community, and we were all doing this for the same sort of purpose. I think the naivety of, we can change the world, we're a driving point, and we were basically a big town. We were virtually 400,000 plus people by the time it had peaked. And when you get behind the scenes and you see Michael Jeffries, who was Jimmy's manager, and Albert Grossman helping to push a car out of the mud backstage, that is significant, because that would, under normal circumstances, would never ever happen. When I emerged from that truck after the last few notes have died away, I don't know, I felt very drained. It had been an emotional roller coaster for that performance, and Jimmy had given it his all, and then we had to figure out how we're going to get back. And I mean, the roads were blocked. It took, I can't remember, it probably took me about 6 or 7 hours to get home. I remember seeing the film in its first cut form in Los Angeles, and I was shocked at how depressing it looked. Here's Jimi Hendrix on stage giving his all, and half the audience is gone. It's muddy. It's all those shots where they pan away to where there's a piece of grass that's sort of molten, and there's mud everywhere, and people are looking very bedraggled, and there's Jimi Hendrix trying as hard as he can to give it his all. I knew Jimmy's performance was really good for the most part, but seeing how the context of the movie and those shots of the mud and the people all bedraggled and looking like they were in a war zone, it made me feel very uncomfortable. But I guess over the years, we've all gotten to love Woodstock because of this incendiary performance that Jimmy has given us. That overrides everything in my mind.